Hi, my name is Marc Weitz, and I'm the founder and executive director of the NYC Indie Theater Film Festival. Welcome to CUNY TV Presents, a television show focusing on emerging filmmakers and their exceptional cinematic work. Today's conversation focuses on the talented filmmakers from the festival, all of whom make work in theater and film here in New York City and across the U.S. Joining me in the studio is Jocelyn Kuritsky, founder of Staging Film, a community of theater makers and filmmakers exploring new ways to tell theater stories on film. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Thanks, Marc. Glad to be here with you.
The NYC Indie Theater Film Festival presents work from theater artists defying labels and branching out into film, TV, and web content.
You are about to watch a collection of outstanding films that showcase theater artists telling stories in ways that are unique and personal, and all possess qualities that connect the stage to the screen. Let me introduce our filmmakers: Don Castro, Elise Valderrama, Ryan Spahn, and David Skeist. Don Castro is a Manila-born versatile actor and filmmaker now based in New York City. His film credits include The Goldfinch and Marvel's Daredevil, with work showcased at festivals like Toronto and Cannes Short Film Corner. Don made his award-winning debut as a writer-director for his film Your Blue Heart. Welcome, Don.
Thank you.
Elise Valderrama is a dynamic artist from Peru, raised in Miami with a BFA in animation and an MFA in video art. Initially a stand-up comedian, she celebrated recognition for her performance in F the M Train and took on the dual role of director and star in her 2024 horror film, Bloodercream. Welcome, Elise.
Thank you.
David Skeist is a notable figure in the downtown experimental theater scene, as well as independent film scene, serving as the producing director of Caborca. He has starred in acclaimed works such as The Entitlement and collaborated with renowned artists like Elizabeth Swados. David has also played a principal role in the VR series, The Interpretation of Dreams. Welcome, David.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn.
Ryan Spahn is a filmmaker who created the feature films Nora Highland, He's Way More Famous Than You, and Grantham and Rose. And his films have screened at over 30 film festivals, including New Fest, Palm Springs International, and Slamdance. Ryan is also an essay writer, published by American Theater Magazine, Talkhouse, and USA Today. And his first play, inspired by true events, is being released by Concord Theatricals. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ryan, let's start with you. So your film is Router. You're the writer and director of Router.
Yes.
Tell us, what is Router about?
Router is about a woman who is home alone at night and she loses her internet connection. And she searches for a signal and she picks up the signal of her neighbor's router, only to discover a really creepy message on the Wi-Fi display name. And it's a thriller. And she stumbles into the neighbor's apartment only to discover something pretty terrifying.
And it is a very scary, it's very eerie film.
Yeah, it's an eerie film.
So you made this film, I understand, with just a team of 3.
Yes.
Zero budget,
Yeah.
zero crew. Tell us a little, what was that like?
Okay, so I went to school with the star, Brittany Vickers, and her husband, Thomas Bruneau, is a photographer and DP, and so he had this amazing camera and he had his own sound equipment, and we just sort of got together in my friend Billy's apartment and just filmed it. And it's loosely based on a true story of Brittany's friend who saw this name on a Wi-Fi, which I'm not going to say because you should just watch the short and see what it says, but she discovered this, and so we sort of concocted this film.
Okay. And so you have a varied resume as a screenwriter and a script writer and a filmmaker and all this. Why a thriller? Why did you want to make a thriller?
Because it's my favorite genre. It's my favorite style of film, and I want to one day be really good at it. And so this was my first attempt at trying something and seeing if I could figure out how to do it in a short form and with no money, because I think it's important to try things where you're not having to raise a bunch of money.
Certainly in this environment,
Yeah.
definitely. And when you're thinking about a project as an artist, you want to make a play or a film. How do you decide whether a project, an idea is going to be a film or a play?
I think it depends on what else is going on in my life. So if I'm acting in a play, I often tend to want to work on film at home. If I'm shooting something, I'm drawn to theater at home. I think it's whatever I'm not doing professionally I'm doing privately.
Let's take a look at the clip from Browder.
How are you? I'm okay, I'm just a little freaked out. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's the hormones, I'm not sure.
So Don, let's talk about you and your film, Your Blue Heart. Can you tell us what it's about?
Your Blue Heart is a short film narrative about a father named Lito who goes about his day, his routines, waiting for his son to arrive home. But as day turns into night, he finds himself confronting a long-hidden reality. Mm-hmm. So it's based on a very personal story, but yeah, a very personal story. It explores memory, the meaning of family, and really the secrets that we all hold inside our hearts. Now that the film exists and I've had some time to think it over, I feel like it's really a meditation on loss, love, and how the past never truly leaves us.
You have a lot of experience as an actor in film and television and in theater, but you took on many hats with this film. Can you talk a little bit about that and what compelled you to do that?
So I've never had an interest in writing or directing my own things, producing my own work. I was very content to be an actor, not responsible for any storytelling decision making. But when my father passed, and our relationship abruptly ended when I was 10, so I never really got to know him, and I didn't grow up with him. When he died, I didn't know how to mourn for him. I didn't know how to feel sorrow for him. So, I mean, out of nowhere though, the basic premise for Your Blue Heart came about, like the basic story. I didn't have to force it or contrive it in any way, just sort of showed up. So I nurtured it and decided to make a film out of it.
It's a beautiful film. Let's take a look at a clip.
It's smaller than you remember.
You're still so young.
How am I here?
I'm not sure, but I'm glad to see you.
So Elise, let's talk about your film, Bloodercream. You are the writer, director, animator, and also one of the stars.
Yes.
Okay, that's a lot. So tell us a little bit about what Bloodercream is about.
Okay, so Bloodercream is an avant-garde slasher film.
My favorite genre, truthfully.
That well-known genre of avant-garde slasher, and it plays homage to vaudeville and silent film era, especially the works of George Méliès, and there's a variety of mediums. You know, I use animation, I use live action, but it's also kind of a mishmash of different genres. It's kind of like me. There's comedy, there's horror, there's a lot of surrealism, but I think really at its core, it's just a love story.
Yeah.
You know, between a man, a woman, and a demonic cake that comes to life in the middle of the night. So.
Yes, the classic triangle, man,
Yes.
woman, demonic cake.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I love about it is very theatrical. You're not using animation in a way that mimics realism, really. How did you arrive at that style of different genres and stuff?
Chronic insomnia,
Fever dream.
It's funny because I started animating maybe when I was 13, very young. And even early on, people used to tell me I was very esoteric. And I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, I had to look it up in a dictionary. And it bothered me at first because I think all of my art and my style is founded on these very real emotions that I experience that are kind of too big and overwhelming for, I think, the laws of physics, let alone narrative words. So I didn't shy away from it, though. I never felt this need to try to be something else. I'm like, well, you want to see esoteric? I'll show you. Challenge accepted.
Okay, and that's very different from FDM training,
Yes.
which is much more realistic.
Yes.
Well, your journey as an artist in some ways is a little opposite to some of the artists we have here and in the rest of our festival, which is you are a trained animator, a trained
Yes.
filmmaker, and then you got into theater. So what prompted that move into theater, and how do they inform each other?
Well, for better or worse, I love New York, and I've lived here the better part of 20 years, and it's impossible to escape theater, right?
Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, whether you want to, there's no escaping it. You turn a corner and you run into a theater actor, and which is true. In Bloodercream, both of my actors, Honey and Arafat Murphy and Patrick Robinson, both theater actors. And it's funny because when I talk to theater people, they're terrified of film and television, and I'm like, terrified of theater. I'm like, theater with an R-E? I'm so intimidated.
And it feels like it does give you that framework for being larger than life, you said, for not being contained. Theater gives you that ability, especially like in a musical where we're singing because it's so big, we have to sing.
Yeah.
So you have this animation that's so big, it busts through the frame almost.
Completely.
Wonderful. Well, let's take a look at Bloodercream.
David Skeist.
Yeah.
You are one of the producers of a film called Intermission. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So Intermission is a narrative short by Javier Antonio Gonzalez that takes place during the intermission of a downtown theater play. And during this intermission, a somewhat eccentric or free-spirited woman lights a man's cigarette and begins a conversation that starts about the dangers of smoking and meanders its way to everything that we can or can't control in our lives. And I feel like it's one of those conversations that happens so in this city, where, you go from feeling like, oh my God, how did I get trapped here with this insane person, to like, oh my God, how can I thank the universe for, destining me to be in this bizarre interaction that I will remember for the rest of my life. To say yes to
I mean,
that.
visually, it's really striking. The use of smoke on screen is always really interesting, and the way it's used here is super interesting, and sort of the interaction with the actors in the smoke is really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that.
I have many additional thoughts. I have many additional thoughts.
There's something about that is theatrical to me.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course it is, and the tobacco industry has used the allure of smoke on screen for many decades to entrap people into lifetimes of suffering. But it is, and I think what I like about what the film does is it does not shy away from the theatricalization of smoking and even the sort of theatrical romanticization of smoking, while also being pretty brutally honest about that machinery and the machinery behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I think, in a way, it's a very Brechtian technique. It's theatrical in that sense. and I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Was there a fan? You didn't use a fan or anything to blow the smoke, and was there any technical?
Yeah, it's some of the particular exchanges of smoke are enhanced.
Wow.
We'll have to watch the film.
I hope you will.
Let's take a look at a clip.
You smoke really fast.
I do?
Yeah, it usually takes about 7 minutes to finish a whole cigarette. Do you know that? 7 minutes exactly. Could you do me a favor?
You want a drag?
No. You're bad. No, could you, could you take a puff and blow in my face?
Okay.
So Jocelyn, I'd also like to mention that you're a creator of another film in our showcase. This Thing of Ours is produced by your company, Staging Film. So first of all, tell us a little bit about Staging Film. What is that?
Well, Staging Film, I am an experimental theater person, like David, do a lot of downtown stuff. And I was sort of fascinated with the merger of stage and screen aesthetics. And I teamed up with the projection designer and director, Alex Bosco Koch. And we had lots of conversations about how stage and film meld and don't meld. We both have a love for films like Vanya on 42nd Street. And, there have been many attempts and tries at this, forays into this with, I think it's American Film Theater, Shakespeare pop-up cinema, Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater. But what Staging Film really focuses on is sort of the fusion of the elements. So playing with untraditional techniques in cinematography and acting and set and sound, all of that.
I think some of those techniques where you merge theater and film are really evident in your film, This Thing of Ours. So tell us, what is This Thing of Ours about?
So This Thing of Ours was an early experiment with Staging Film. And just plot-wise, it's basically about the aftermath of a terror attack. It alludes to 9/11, I believe. It's written by Caridad Svitch,
A fantastic playwright.
who's very well known in theater for her use of poetic drama. And this scene is specifically, or this film, short film, we take a scene from the play, and it's about a documentary filmmaker and her subject and the complexities of documenting trauma. What's interesting here is that Jose Zayas, the director, and the cinematographer, Alex Bosco Koch, they work with sort of, we have these scenes that are set in rehearsal rooms. So we rehearse them kind of as actors, and those are paralleled and contrasted with real world scenes of the same kind of setting and material. And that kind of adds to this sort of feeling of dissociation and disorientation having to do with the themes of the piece. But it's also this experiment in aesthetics. Yeah.
So that's a great intro here. Let's take a look at a clip from This Thing of Ours.
She asked me to be in her film. She asked me to sit for her.
Just an hour or two, see how it goes.
I'm not an actor.
I don't want actors. I don't like actors. They're always acting. No, I just want to film you, talk about whatever, you know? It's just a record. We all process terrorism differently.
I don't know what she means. I'm actually taken aback by her words, processing terrorism. I don't think of it that way at all.
All right, what I'd like to do now is open up some questions for our panel. And it feels like one of the themes I'm hearing here is this idea of just do it. That we're artists, and if we have this idea to make a film, we want to just do it. So I'd like to ask what advice you might have for any artists out there in our audience, whether theater or filmmakers, who want to make a film, their first film. What advice, maybe Ryan, let's start with you. What would you say?
I would say you just pick a date. I think if you literally just pick a start date, 6 or 8 months from now, of something you want to make. Just pick a date and just drive towards that date. And you will probably end up making it. It's when you don't pick a date that you're sort of just living this like a what if place.
Deadlines.
Yeah, just set a deadline of like a start date.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
That's really good advice.
That's, Don?
Maybe in the same spirit of that, whatever vision you may have for a film, and I know you can always reevaluate and reassess it and reconfigure it, but just really hold on to that vision, and I think that will help you kind of go through the difficult times of whether it's financing or if things are not going your way.
Given that this was your first film, was there any fear? Like I don't have what it takes to do this. How did you get over that initial, if you had any, I've never done this before?
I just had to accept the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. So from not knowing anything, I kind of learned along the way. And I have filmmaker friends, and I've worked in front of a camera before, so I'm familiar with it. But as far as being a writer and director and producing, I had to sort of learn on the go.
I think it's also good to just be okay with it maybe not being amazing the first time out too. Like let go of that. Like just keep doing things.
The other thing I often suggest to people is make hard asks. Like this thing of ours with Black Eyed Susan from the Ridiculous Theatrical Company. Now I knew her, that wasn't necessarily a hard ask, but she wasn't the most obvious choice. And that was exciting to involve somebody like her. And we asked Stephen Merritt to do the score from The Magnetic Fields. Like just ask people if they'll do stuff.
They might be willing to help. You might be surprised, right?
Yeah.
They're willing to help.
Yeah.
I think one bit of advice is work with your people. Like if you're a theater artist, you have a lot of people.
Good advice.
Theater is such a communal activity, and it's such an inherently collaborative activity, and we collaborate in very special ways in theater that I think are different from the ways in which a lot of people create in film. And I think using theatrical collaboration, which is real time, real circumstances, can create a very special kind of film. So I would say work with your people. Work site specifically, that's another thing. As theater actors, we know how to inhabit a space, and a space is such a character, and I think that's something that we bring to film. And then the other bit of advice I would say is, one thing that's different in film. Early in making our first film, somebody told me that a film gets written 3 times. It gets written when the script is written, then it gets written when you shoot it, and then it gets rewritten when you edit it, right? And you can only edit what you've shot. And like you think you're shooting the script, but you're actually shooting time and space, right? And so kind of accepting that multi-stage process of filmmaking, which is different from theater, where we're kind of circling closer and closer to a thing that maybe we're imagining.
And I would say leave a little room for experimentation because things aren't going to work the way you want, and try to see that can be a benefit. It doesn't have to be like a bad thing. It can work to your benefit.
I would think with animation, of course, if you didn't shoot something, you can always plug the hole with animation, perhaps.
Oh, sure, yeah. Just throw an animated character in there; it'll be fine.
Yeah, that'll solve all the
your
narrative
actor
problems.
didn't show up, just animate them. Just animate.
Whatever.
I think budget-wise, don't skimp on a sound person. That is the thing I think people try to not use a good sound person their first time out, and that can just tank everything.
Yes. Great. So I think at this point, I'd love to hear what you're all up to, what the next thing is that you're working on. So maybe Elise, tell us, be a little publicity here. What are you working on?
Oh my gosh. So I've been cast as the lead in a feature film.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an experimental film called Sisyphus, directed by a really bright young director, Timbita Daniels. And it kind of deals with this. It's a modern spin on the myth of Sisyphus, of doing things over and over again, but it also has a little bit of a tip of the hat to the William Greaves film, Cinco Psycho Taxiplasm. That's a mouthful.
That is.
So very experimental, and I play an actress playing an actress trapped in a romance opposite a really great theater actor, Biko Eisen Martin.
He's great. I don't know when this will air, but I'm currently in a play called Danger and Opportunity at the East Village basement. And then when that ends, I did a play called The Antiquities.
Yes.
That is it's like moving to the Goodman, and so we leave for Chicago. So I'll be doing that until mid-June.
Busy.
Yeah, fantastic. Jocelyn.
So I'm still working on this podcast project called The Simple Her Story, which is about the women who've run for president of the United States. And it's an interesting project because it's an amalgamation, sort of podcasting, theater, politics, I don't know, whatever else is in there. It's a lot of stuff. And we're working on our second season.
David.
So the big kind of magnum opus that I'm working on at the moment together with Javier, our next big project with our company is a heavy metal choral musical about the critically endangered North Atlantic right whale, of which there are about 370 of them left swimming around the Atlantic seaboard. And so I'm one of the composers of that, and Javier wrote this gorgeous script and is directing it. So that's a big one that we've been working on for a couple of years. And then there's, in other capacities, I'm working on several different projects about Nazis, both OG and neo, and the subconscious of authoritarianism.
Very timely, it would seem.
It would.
So I do have a new short film project. It's called The Injectionist. It's about a reluctant Filipina healthcare worker who witnesses an elderly Asian couple being pummeled during the height of the pandemic, the height of Asian hate. And so observing that propels her into a life of vigilantism. So yeah,
Marvel meets COVID.
I'm thinking more like Marvel meets Godfather, something like that. Yeah, so it's in development now. Hopefully, we'll be on set in the fall.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right.
Sadly, that is all the time we have for today. A huge thank you to our amazing guests, Don Castro, Elise Valderrama, David Skeist, Ryan Spahn, and my co-host and filmmaker, Jocelyn Kuritsky, for sharing their journeys and creative insights with us. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. Be sure to spread the word and support the outstanding talent from the NYC Indie Theater Film Festival. These filmmakers are shaping the future of cinema and theater.
Make sure to subscribe and follow the NYC Indie Theater Film Festival on social media for the latest updates at NYC ITFF. Now sit back, relax, and remember you can catch this episode and all the fantastic films from the NYC Indie Theater Film Festival Showcase on CUNY TV's YouTube channel. The films are also available on the CUNY TV app. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.